Waiting for all this to come up. How are you guys today? I'm Jeremy from Flatware Creations. Today I have a couple of little projects. I need to not be on this screen because it's going to mess me up. Let's go back to here. Actually, can I bring them side by side? You on that side, you on that side. It's not what I want. There we go. Okay, so now I can see this. I will fix that. I can see the chat, and I can see everybody on here. So awesome. All right, here's what we're doing today. We are, let me know if the volume is okay for you. We have a wind chime that I made a long time ago, a very, very long time ago. This was our first outdoor show, so 6 years ago or something. I made a fork wind chime, or a fork topper, and then I made a whole bunch because our first outdoor event was a hot air balloon show. I took soup spoons and made hot air balloons with baskets. Oh, I got the autofocus off. There we go. So I made these little hot air balloons, but I made them with 20-pound fishing line, and over time they just deteriorated, and she was able to save them, put everything in a bag for me, and this is my honey-do list today. And this was back when I was doing a little hole here, so I had the 4 tines, and then I had a little one, a little string hanging down for my center piece that would chime everything else. So we're going to do this. I'm going to show you how I make the knots, what wire I use. I just had all that. There it is. The different crimps that I use, and how I tie my knots so that I don't waste anything. I try to have as little waste as possible, and this has been the easiest way I've found to do it. Also, I'm going to be fixing this pendant. This is one whole fork. Had super long tines. Even the bottom tine is curled around, coming back up into this twist I made here. But we're going to take and make matching earrings from the moss agate hearts. So I have the stuff out to make those. Those are going to take some seed beads. I think we're going to do those first. If you hop on, say hi. Okay. So that's our project for today. And then I have a whole bunch of other stuff I have to do. But I think I'm going to accomplish this in just a few minutes. And you guys can get the most benefit from just everything being condensed. So I'm going to move you guys up top so you can see what I'm doing. And if for some reason you want to look at me, I'm in the corner. Okay, here we go. All right, so the first thing I have is I have these little pins here. That's got to get out of my way. I have these little pins. They have a flat head on them. They're only 2 inches long. Because these little moss agate things, I don't trust the little stoppers. So what I do, let's see which one I used on here. I used the green one. So here's how I get my seed beads out. one at a time. Just kind of get it going there. We'll put this guy up through here. I grab so what I do here is I take my curved nose pliers and I'm just going to make a bend. So it's almost down here. Just going to bend this right over 45 degree. Now I'm going to grab my round nose pliers and I'm going to bend this way. So now we have this. I'm just going to roll my pliers. So now we have it like that with the one on top. I'm going to take my needle nose and I'm going to wrap this right around. And I'm just going to twist it up a couple times. Snips. Take my curved nose pliers again. And I'm just using them to round off that piece. Oh, I forgot to twist that over. So there we go, we have our one earring. I've already pre-made the sterling silver ear wires. And I got a little loop in there, so we're just going to loop this in. Curve this over. And earring done. So let's get the next one. So again, grab my seed bead, find one that matches the color pretty close to match the other ones. Down through there. Take our curved pliers again. Tip it right over. See, if I work right here, I should be able to stop the autofocus. Round nose pliers. And you can make these, you can change the size of the hole by how far in you put your wire. You can make a full size. Back here is normally where I can get a necklace through, but since we're just doing an ear wire, I'm only going to go a little bit. So I'll fold this over, and what I didn't do before, I'm pinching this right here. Not focusing where I want it to. Okay. So I'm going to bend this over a little bit. Flip this up. And start wrapping this around. So I'm pulling up and away when I'm doing this. That's going to give me a nice tight line. Take my curved nose pliers again. And I'm just kind of squeezing and twisting. I'm going to bring this flat. Put on our earring wire. And poof, we have a pair of earrings. Let's put them on a card. make it easier for everyone to see. And there we go. So now these guys are going to match. Let's go right here. Fun stuff. All right, so that job is done. I'll add these to their fork elephants. These are really pretty. I love using the ones that have the patterns on the top. I wrote the date on these. These were made, the pattern was 1901. We'll put that in there, put that in there, put this guy back in. All right, half the project is done. Let's get rid of the seed beads before I spill them. Let's see. What I didn't do was I didn't share on Instagram or Facebook that I'm live. Let's see if I can remember how to do this. Flip this around. Picture. Story. I think I did that wrong. Oh well. Add this, post, next. I just went live on YouTube. All right. Okay, center to, where's Facebook? Okay, there it is. All right, so that is posted. Okay, so this time we're gonna start back here a little bit. Get my autofocus set to there. So I always start with the top wire first. What I am using is 45 pound. I don't know the length, but it was a giant spool. This is plastic coated steel wire for fishing. And I'm using these little crimps. So we're gonna need 2 of them. These have been the easiest crimps for me. You just hammer them down. So I'll bring it over here to the anvil. Everything in my shop is still a crazy mess. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna put on one of the crimps. You can go back over it and through. We want to make sure we leave enough room for a hook to be able to go through. Grab this little hammer. Just kind of double check that both sides smushed. The other thing I like to try and do is get to where the length of my loop is about the length of the fork. So let's cut this guy off. I'm gonna go just below a little bit. We're not going to need this anymore. Alright, so next we need our crimp again. We'll put this through here. And we'll put it through the top of this guy. We just need enough here for it to go through. So let me turn the autofocus back on. So I just put it through the hole, just bending it right over and sending it back through the crimp. So this is what I'm left with. And I have a little bit of wire poking out. Take it over here to the vise. Now you can't flatten these too much, so you don't want to squish them so hard that they just disintegrate. But here we are left with a hanger. All right, now the hard part. So we're done with that. We are going to be taking this stuff here. So I'm going to leave this right here for a second. If you have your phone, you should be able to scan this little tag right here. And if you open up your camera, you should see a link at the top of the screen on most phones. Or you can search for the number. I get this in 100-foot spools. It is 0.15 inches, 0.38 millimeter, and you can use a number 1 crimp or a number 2 longer crimp. But I use 2.5 crimps. These are copper that have been plated silver, and they're small, tiny, but they work great on the wire we're going to use. I've used different kinds. I've used the 1 millimeter, I've used the round ones like is shown here, and these guys here, but what I've found works the best for me and works with about 80% of all the beads I've used. Some of the beads have bigger holes. These guys are big enough to stop them from sliding through. So anytime you're not working with these, always make sure that you put the lid on them. I have spilled them way more than once. Okay, on to our wire here. Come on. So normally I have a little drill hole. It's in one of my videos. I thought this was the one that had it, but it's not. So here's the trick that I use. I know that I want this. Actually, these are hot air balloons. So we're going to make these guys and their own forks. So let's just call it, let's call it 10 inches. What I'm going to do here is that right? Yes. For some reason it doesn't feel right. Okay, that way it does. So I'm going to go through once, twice, and 3 times, and I'm going to pull this right back to my finger. So I've hold it together. And now I'm just going to pull it tight, and you should be able to see it lock together. So now I have a nice little knot there. Now what I can do is I can clip it off just above that knot, so I don't have hardly any waste. If you cut this off, now I have to tie this by hand. So I make my loop once, twice, 3 times, and I have to kind of hold the tag end, slide it up towards my finger, and hope that I can get it pulled tight. I'll grab my pliers here, and we got our knot tight. We can clip it off, but we just wasted about 3/4 of an inch. So that 3/4 of an inch over the course of 100 feet really starts to add up. So we can go out to 10 here. And like I said, I'm not used to doing it with this. Normally it flows a lot easier. Once, twice. And the reason I go 3 times is because the way that it folds together on itself, it actually makes a bigger knot. If I just did 2, it's just going to come together. So let's see if I can get you close in here again. So just pulling it together. See how it made that circle 8 figure? If you do 2, it doesn't really do that. And that's tight. Okay, so I need 2 more of these. From this direction. 1, 2, 3. And I always try and leave a little bit. I haven't had one of these knots come out on me, but anything man-made can and will go wrong. So I was trying to do, or I did try and do 4 twists, and it ended up not coming together smoothly. So that's why 3 has done me really well. Alright, so we have our 5. We're done with that. We've got all our knots done. So during that whole thing, I didn't waste any except for this piece that I did whenever I didn't do it the way that I just showed you. So over time that adds up to a lot of wire. Alright, so here's what we're going to do next. We're going to take our good crimps, okay, see if I can shut the autofocus off. Okay, so I'm going to take the good crimp. I thought I had links for everything down in the information area, and I don't think I do. So I will try and fix that. Right now we're making just a little loop. We want to make sure that the crimp stays on the other side of the knot. That was the other thing I liked about them too, is I could go right over the knot. Okay, so I'm going to put my fingernail just on that side of the knot. We're going to bring our loop together. And we're going to go about that big. I'm going to hold this side, take my curved nose pliers, and crimp it right down. So again, we start from the knot side. Grab 1 2.5 millimeter crimp. Come on. It's a shaking day. Okay, fingernail on that side of the knot. We're going to pull this back down to where we want our loop. So I want it about that big. There's 2. Whenever I get to making just full wind chime mode, this gets so much faster and easier. Pull that through. Fingernail on the bottom side of the knot. And by grabbing a hold of it here, you know that wire isn't going to slip out of the knot or out between the crimp. So you're kind of making it have to stay where you want it. Pull that through a little bit. There we go. That was easier. Again, fingernail on the knot. Pull this right down to where we want it. And this was the part that I didn't do in the last video because I already had it done. On my simple wind chime video. Thumb right on the knot, just the bottom side of it. Run this right around. And we are done. All right, we're gonna need these, and we're gonna need these. I call these garbage beads, or garbage crimps, because I don't use them anymore, and I don't feel bad just wasting them. So here's what we have. Okay, so we have our hot air balloons. Five of them. or 4 of those, and then I have this little, this is a teaspoon as the center. So we're going to start with the center, and normally I would hang these up, but I want you guys to see everything. Bring it up just a little bit higher. So first things first, let's get our wires on here. I'm going to use a pair of flat nose pliers. I'm just going to pull it off to the side just a touch. Whichever side it's kind of leaning more towards. We just need enough room for our string to get in. Okay. That guy right in there. Slide this back over. Next. Once you get all the wires on, everything just kind of starts falling into place. Last one for the arms. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is come over to my anvil, and I'm just going to tap these guys down, making sure you don't hit the wire. I just want to make sure that those are down and secure so our wire doesn't fall out. Okay, now let's do our next one. So this is our center. So this one is going to take another bead. We're going to use a good bead here, or a good crimp. So because we already have our crimp here, we're just going to let that one go through. Sorry. I'm just going to let it go through here like this. We're going to run it right through the center hole I drilled. Come right down in between the tines, and we're going to run it right back up and through. So what that's letting us do is have a center line here. You don't want this super tight. I leave like a 1/4 inch or just enough to get my my pliers in there. And I'm going to crimp it right down next to this other one. The autofocus back on. So what you're left with is this crimp, and then the loop. We're going to cut the loop off. Because we have both those crimps. If one crimp lets go, the other one's going to catch it. Alright, so we have all our pieces. Just so we don't get confused, I'm going to start with the center one. So let's count here. 3, 3, 3, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay. I normally do 5 just OCD purposes, but normally I'll contrast them, so I'll have 3 of one color and 3 of another color. But she really liked this, so I'm going to keep it the same. So sliding on the bead. There we go. So bead, crimp, and I'm just spinning it in my hand so I can see it sideways, so I can see the hole. And then bead, crimp, bead, crimp, bead, crimp, one more bead, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, so here's how I do this next part. The bottom doesn't need a crimp. So the next piece that goes on is our piece of silverware. Oh, nope, sorry, that's wrong. After the last bead, I put 2 crimps. So 1, 2. I do the 2 because what happens is if one of them loosens up, the other one takes up the slack. So it should last a lot longer. So then I put that guy on, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of my garbage crimps. Put that right on there, on the end, and I just crimp it. Now what that's done is it made it so that this will not pull off. So our beads are not going to fall on the floor if something happens. And repeat. So bead, crimp. The nice part about the 2.5 millimeter beads also, or crimps, is that they're big enough to actually see and handle. And I've done some wind chimes before, and I've tried to video it, or I've been at a show making wind chimes doing the bead work, because you can do the metal work before the show or whatever, and then just do the beading. But if you talk too much or take your attention off of it, it will eventually end up where you're gonna miss a crimp somewhere, and then it's gonna all be done, and you're gonna be trying to crimp that bead, and you're gonna have to take it apart and do it again. So bead, crimp, bead, crimp, bead, crimp, bead, crimp, double crimp. We're going to put on our piece here. Garbage crimp. I don't like anything going to waste, so instead of just throwing the crimps away, I've been able to use them for a purpose. And I try and make these down towards the end. I still leave 1/4 inch, 1/8 of an inch or so off the end. So we'll go to the next one. And you just keep repeating this over and over. You can put as many beads as you want. You don't have to put crimps if you just want them to stack on top of each other. The options are endless. But this is just the style that worked for me and my OCD. And I normally just put on my headphones. I'll have a whole tub of pieces and parts, and then I'll just start putting everything together for hours. I normally burn through a pair of headphones fully charged. Alright, so we did our last bead. So we're getting a double crimp now. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. I can see that no one's on right now, but I know a lot of people will watch this later, so leave me a comment. If you have any questions, I will, like I said, I'll try and put the links for these down in the information section. I've gotten these from eBay, Amazon. I think I even got them from Alibaba once, or whatever it's called. It's hard waiting for something that long though, and then you don't want to order a ton of it just in case it's not what you want. This one is broken, actually. The hole is off center. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Crimp. And 5. There we go. Sometimes this is really hard for me with the amount of shaking I do. Alright, after this we're on to our last one, and then the fun part happens because we're going to tune it. Everybody's like, how do you tune a wind chime? So what I do is I get all this done. Let's get our last one on here. Let's get it right here. By adjusting where our silverware touches the center chime or the wind catch, it changes the sound of the ring. So as you're lifting it up and down, trying to find out where it makes the nicest sound, because you can just put them all at the same level and they're all going to make the same sound. But I like to try and get you as many sounds as possible so that there's some variation in it. That's why they make some of the wind chimes have like longer tubes and shorter tubes, so that you get all those extra different sounds. Oops. So this one's a double crimp. I only put on one. Come on. Alright. There's that. Get a little crimp on there. Alright, and we're done with the crimps. First things first, always put the lid on the crimps. So here's what we're left with. Turn the focus back on. So we got a bunch of different lengths here. So what we're going to do is hang them from the ceiling. This is the first time making the wind chimes in the new shop. So I'm just gonna bring you right here for now. And I need a screw. Normally I have a piece of wire that I just wrap around a screw up here. So that. I'll get this pushed through here. That went right through. Alright, so here's what I did. Just as a temporary fix, I just have this pin there. I'm just going to put that on there. Let's close this. And now it's hanging. So we'll bring you down a little bit more because you don't need to see the fork. Okay. You're gonna need your snips. You're gonna need your round nose pliers, or not round nose, but your curved pliers. And this one's in the wrong spot. And this one needs to be there. Okay, so the first one we're gonna set is the center one. So I always do the top bead first. We're gonna put it right about there. And I want this to sit. Well, the balloons are pretty tall. So yeah, let's go right about here. So I'm just gonna pinch this. I'm not kinking it. I'm just pinching it enough to be able to cut off my tag end there, or the garbage crimp. So this wire goes up between the two crimps. Come on. Oh, that's what I was doing. It's been a long time since I've had to make the wires for a wind chime, but I'll show you what I normally do. So you can see these two crimps here. Those are what we did. So what I normally do is I'll put this tag end through there, and then I'll put my garbage crimp on, so I don't have to worry about that. So I can just put it right where I want it, slide this down, crimp it. And then I just cut off the end, so I only have to cut it once. So I'm going to grab this guy here. It's about where I want it, and I'm going to make my crimp. So crimp the first one, crimp the second one on top of it. And we're going to cut this. And I'm leaving just a little tag, not even a 1/4 inch tag. If you leave it a little longer, you can push it up into the bead so it's hidden. And here's what I do. I take between the 4 leftover stones, I'll take it up halfway, crimp it. Grab the next crimp, halfway, crimp it. Half the distance, crimp it. Now they're all pretty much even. Okay, so now that we have that done, now we can start the tuning process. Bring it back just a touch. Okay, and we'll get focused. So stop zooming in and out on you. Okay. So I'm just cutting off that garbage crimp, getting the line, the wire up through both crimps. Now I'm just grabbing the tag end, and here's where things start getting interesting. You guys can hear that, yeah. So if I bring it up a little higher, and I'm just going to start letting it go down. See how the sound is changing? So I think I like that one. Nothing says that you have to put them all in the same spot. I leave about a 1/4 inch in the loop. Make sure your crimps are tight. Cut off your tag end, and we've got that guy done. So we'll get our beading. There's that one, the middle one, that one goes to the middle, this one goes to the middle, and now on to the next one. So I like to do the opposite side. Both my crimps together. Yeah, when I started making wind chimes, I was using heavier fishing line, but up here the fishing line doesn't last very long. So sometimes you have to help it a little bit. That's my spot. Just pinch it a little bit. Crimp. Crimp. Get off the tag end. And a lot of times what I'll do is I will make the two outs, or the two ends and the middle, a smaller stone, and then I'll just have two main focal stones for the center, and that really makes them stand out. And normally they're very contrasting, and they're beads, so you have like endless possibilities. Okay, so once you get to the second set, so pretty much what I did was I adjusted this opposite side fairly close to the side to the other side, so they make a similar sound. The sound is different. So that one's more high pitch, and that one's a little bit lower. You don't want these guys to get tangled up. So I'm going to run this a little bit lower. But I still want a good sound. And you're not just getting the sound of the piece hitting the centerpiece, you're also getting the sound of it hitting the one next to it. Alright, so let's get these crimped. And another thing you want to watch out for is sometimes these get flipped over the top. Just make sure they're all hanging straight down. All right, last one. And then we'll be all done with this project. Yeah, our first outdoor show was a balloon festival. So we're like, hey, pretty sure I can make a bunch of balloons. So I'm just checking all the sounds around it. I like that. Pinch it a little bit. And doing it this way, we've actually been through a few storms. We went through a microburst. The tent had 4 of its bars broken, and it just was dead. But every one of the wind chimes that was hanging on it survived. So it works. But so now we've got all these guys. And something I started doing after making this one is I started tuning them a little bit more. So I'm going to bring this up a little bit. Try and shape them. Bring them a little closer together. This allows me to do more fine tuning. Takes a lot less effort or wind. And we are done. So what I do now mostly is I'll take these, adjust these arms to where the 4 of them hit in the middle, and I don't add this center guy anymore. But because it's in there, we'll leave it in there this way I made it. And we'll call that Wind Chime Success. Put this in the baggie. The other nice part about doing it this way is if you get like a crazy storm, it just comes right back to undone. It's always fun to watch. It's like messing this up as much as you possibly can. So the big things for this is your top wire. It can be like spider wire, or even the heavier gauge of the stuff here, the seven strand wire. This is Bead 7 strand. I just like the heavier duty for my my peace of mind. So just put this in here because that's hers too. That is mission accomplished. But like I said, you can make these wires if you know how long average your pieces are going to be. So say you're doing a whole bunch of those forks. I normally do them at like 6 inches, 5 inches, something like that, so I'm not wasting a ton. And those can be adjusted after, but tying these pieces right here, getting that hole drilled through there, it's in another one of my videos, makes this getting the wire off so much easier. And the crimps make a big difference. I will see if I can find the links and create these for the links that I have down in the comment section or the information section. Those are affiliate links, so if you buy something from there, I do get a tiny little percentage helping us out, just so you know. But you can find all of this stuff, eBay, Etsy, all over the place, Hobby Lobby. My thing that I found is 2.5 round silver crimps. They are copper, silver plated. And these are just regular leader wire crimps for fishing. You can get a ton of those cheap as well. I'll try and make sure everything's on a link. This is live, so yeah, I might try and put it in the comments later on. But I want to thank you guys for joining me, for spending this time with me. Let's see, where are we at for time? 1 hour and 5 minutes. That's what I get for talking. Okay. Yep, so if you have any questions, please leave me a comment. I try and get back to you as soon as possible. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. We are going to be doing a big push and trying to get to the next level. I am going to also be making something that for some reason I have no idea why I haven't made one yet. I've never made making a spoon ring video. How crazy is that? I do everything else, but I haven't made a spoon ring video. So spoon ring video coming up. I'm going to do it with the vise, and I'm going to do it the easy way with my press. So those should be fun, and they won't be as long as this. My lives normally go long, but I'm talking through the whole thing. So thank you guys. I hope you guys all have a great day, and you keep making. And if you ever have any questions, feel free to ask me. I'm always up for helping everybody. So